I'm running for president of the United States, and I'm not running for second. I'm not running for second.
So I'm confused on what your position is.
My position is I'm pro-life, period.
If a woman is raped, she should not be allowed to end the pregnancy?
That's her choice.
If one of your female children, grandchildren, was raped, you would honestly want her to bring up that baby as her own?
You're mixing two things here, Pierce.
Why?
Okay? You're mixing two things.
But that's what it comes down to.
No, it comes down to it's not the government's role or anybody else's role to make that decision. Secondly, if you look at the statistical incidence, you're not talking about that big a number. So what I'm saying is it ultimately gets down to a choice that that family or that mother has to make. Not me as president, not some politician, not a bureaucrat. It gets down to that family. And whatever they decide, they decide.
So you agreed with President Obama on Libya or not?
Okay, Libya.
What would President Cain offer the Palestinians to make peace?
Nothing. President Obama supported the uprising, correct? President Obama called for the removal of Gaddafi. Just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing before I say, yes, I agreed, I know I didn't agree.
Where do you stand on the right of return?
The right of return? The right of return?
The Palestinian right of return.
That's something that should be negotiated. I do not agree with the way he handled it for the following reason. No, that's a different one.
A lot of people think you didn't understand the right of return.
They are exactly right, Sean. I got to go back to see. Got all this stuff twirling around in my head. And when they ask me who's the president of Becky, Stan, I'm going to say, you know, I don't know. Do you know? I don't have facts to back this up, but I happen to believe that these demonstrations are planned and orchestrated to distract from the failed policies of the Obama administration.
We'll have a real fence, 20 feet high, with barbed wire, electrified, with a sign on the other side that says, it can kill you.
If you don't have a job and you're not rich, blame yourself.
It was a joke, and some people don't think that it was a good joke, and it's probably not a joke that we're supposed to make if you're a presidential candidate.
The banks have anything to do with the crisis that we went into in 2008?
They did have something to do with the crisis that we went into in 2008, but we are not in 2008, we're in 2011, okay?
You said it was a joke. It didn't sound like a joke on video.
Well, you know, I think we're splitting hairs here. I don't apologize for using a combination of a fence, and it might be electrified. I'm not walking away from that.
Well, any Wall Street, anything, any one regulation that you think is stifling innovation.
Elliot, I can't give you one innovation. I'm speaking generally, and you're trying to pin me down on one. Now, I tell you what.
You're running for president. I think it's fair to do.
I'll make a deal with you.
Okay.
The next time I come, I will have a specific one for you.
That's
okay?
a deal. We will set
Let's
that.
do it that way.
Let me come at it another way.
That's why I'm going to only allow small bills. 3 pages. I believe homosexuality is a sin.
You genuinely believe millions of Americans wake up in their late teens normally and go, you know what? I quite fancy being a homosexual. You don't believe that?
Pierce.
Do you?
You haven't given me any evidence to convince me otherwise. I believe it's a sin.
Okay.
But I know that some people make that choice. That's their choice.
So you believe it's a choice?
I believe it is a choice.
Okay.
I don't think being a homosexual washes off.
Well, maybe you're right. I'm just simply saying.
You concede I might be right?
That's my You might be right, but what I'm saying is this is just my opinion.
Would you be comfortable appointing a Muslim either in your cabinet or as a federal judge?
No, I will not.
So you're saying any community, if they want to ban a mosque?
Yes, they have the right to do that.
Number one, in all of my over 40 years of business experience, running businesses and corporations, I have never sexually harassed anyone.
But instead of going into the offices, he suddenly reached over and he put his hand on my leg, under my skirt, and reached for my genitals. He also grabbed my head and brought it towards his crotch. I was very, very surprised and very shocked. I said, "What are you doing? You know I have a boyfriend. This isn't what I came here for." Mr. Cain said, "You want a job, right?"
Was there any behavior on your part that you think might have been inappropriate?
In my opinion, no. But as you would imagine, it's in the eye of the person who thinks that maybe I crossed the line.
All of a sudden that you remembered things about it yesterday, were you informed or were you told more about the case yesterday?
No, I just started to remember more. In the business environment, working around men, women, all types of people, never accused of any sort of sexual harassment. I have never sexual harassed anyone.
Yesterday, early in the day, you said that you were not aware of any settlement. Later in the day on the Greta show, you were aware of the settlement. You actually went into some detail about the nature of the settlement. How do you explain that contradiction?
The way I explain that contradiction is because when I first heard the word settlement, I thought legal settlement.
I've been criticized by some members of the media that I have changed my story. When the firestorm started a week ago Monday, I was presented with the accusation of some settlement was made. Settlement to me means that there were legal implications. Later during that same day, I then recalled, after all those years, that there was an agreement. That's what businesses sign with employees who are departing the company. They call it an agreement.
Okay, but Mr. Cain, this story was not an ambush. You did have almost 2 weeks in which to formulate your response. But you find yourself in this public relations disaster, and I'm interested in what you blame it on. Is it a poor memory, a lack of political experience, or a lack of staff? What is your answer for why you're answering all these questions about all these conflicting responses when you had time to prepare one?
Well, let's go back to why 10 days ago we made a conscious decision. We're not going to chase anonymous accusations. Secondly, we didn't know what was going to be in that report. We were given a heads up that they were thinking about releasing a story, but you don't go out and defend something when you don't know what you're trying to defend.
Do you think that race, being a strong black conservative, has anything to do with the fact that you've been so charged? And if so, do you have any evidence to support that?
I believe the answer is yes, but we do not have any evidence to support it. Here we go again.
Tell us about the nature of your relationship with this woman.
Friend, and trying to help a friend because not having a job, etc., and this sort of thing.
Was it an affair? I mean, I'm asking, these are awkward questions, but I'll ask you the questions you're going to be asked. Was this an affair?
No, it was not.
There was no sex?
No.
A woman comes forward to share her story of a 13-year-long affair with Herman Cain.
I was aware that he was married, and I was also aware that I was involved in a very inappropriate situation, relationship.
Does your wife know this woman in Georgia?
No.
Nobody in your family knows this woman?
No.
How long did you know her as a friend?
I won't get into that, Wolf, because it's all premature.
Dale Russell reveals what she says about the presidential candidate from Georgia and the relationship she says ended just a few months ago.
100,000 people could possibly come out. Do I know of any that might come out? Not off the top of my head.
But you're staying in this race. You're not dropping out.
I'm not dropping out of this race, no.
In a conference call today, Cain told his staff,
"This is calls for reassessment. We have to do an assessment as to whether or not this is going to create too much of a cloud in some people's minds